I can tell you for a fact, okay, China is not helping Africa. China is not a friend of Africa as they always say they are. My brother, calm down, okay? I know your blood is hot. Calm down. China is the best friend of Africa. In fact, China is the best friend Africa has ever got. Have you seen the number of infrastructures that China is building in Africa? Have you seen the roads? Have you seen the bridges? Have you seen the hospitals, the police stations, the goods that China brings into Africa? Nearly everything you consume in Africa is made in China. Do you know that? So forgive me, okay? Forgive me for saying this, but China is the best friend Africa has ever have. And China is Africa's number one friend. No. I cannot take that. You are a big liar. In fact, you are one of those people who are out there misinforming Africa. The Chinese have sold this narrative to Africans that they are in Africa to help the Africans. And some of you Africans, like you here, have bought this notion that China is helping Africa. This is a false information. This is fake news. Oh, no. I understand your frustration, okay? I understand your frustration. But let me lay out a few things so that you can understand. Let me lay them out for you, okay? China is in Africa to support the Africans. China has made it their responsibility, their obligation to help Africa grow. China wants Africa to become a prosperous continent and to be like China. China is in love with Africa. In fact, China is the only lover that Africa will ever have. Because China wants to make things great for Africa and for Africans. China has seen that Africa is a place that has been taken advantage of. Africa is a place that has been underappreciated. And so China has come in to set the record straight. China has come in to make sure that Africa gets its place on the table, to make sure that Africa can stand tall on the international scene and Africa can talk and get the respect she deserves. So don't sit here and tell me what I'm saying is fake news or what I'm saying is all lies. China has come to help Africa. China has come to be a partner of Africa. China is in love with Africa. And China will do great things for Africa. I really don't understand how you can sit here and say that China is helping Africa. I really don't get this. Whereby China is milking Africa. China is collecting a lot from Africa. China is mining Africa's resources. So how can you sit here and say that China is in love with Africa? China is going to fix Africa. China is going to make sure Africa stands tall. How can you say all these things without considering what China is gaining in Africa? How can you say this? China manufactures goods and send to Africa. We buy. China come to Africa and exploit our resources. And yet still, you sit here and say that China is a friend of Africa, that China is the best friend Africa has ever have, and that China is going to be the only friend that Africa will ever have. How can you say such a thing? How can you say such a thing? I am greatly offended by this statement. How could you? How could you? How could you? My brother, don't be offended, okay? Don't be offended. It's not me saying it. It's what everyone is saying. The Chinese are saying it. The Africans are saying it. The Europeans are saying it. China is doing marvelous things in Africa. China is moving Africa on the right direction. China is making sure that Africa don't just grow, but the people of Africa live happily, safely, and most importantly, prosperously. So China is doing all these things to help and support Africa. China is, like I said before, the only friend Africa has ever had. And the only friend that Africa is going to have, believe me, that is exactly what it is. So, whatever you are saying, keep it to yourself. But remember one thing, or remember this thing I'm telling you today. China is Africa's number one friend. China is doing great things for Africa, and China will make sure that Africa becomes China. There'll be a China's China in Africa. Don't worry, okay? Don't worry. There'll be a China's China in Africa.